That completed on Liberty Avenue.
Code 602L, unable to proceed.
In this short film, we follow Kay through his dangerous adventures across a variety of virtual dream worlds, where he's trapped and chased down by a malevolent AI. The project took over 200 hours to complete. Now let's take a closer look at the entire process. The entire project was split into 3 sections. I began by writing the script on Studio Binder, then moved on to shortlisting through a descriptive table. Each shot of the film was then storyboarded by hand, digitally scanned, and made into a GIF through Photoshop. After that, I moodboarded different visuals and ideas I wanted to explore through PureRef. I then set up digital collaboration tools for time management to coordinate with actors on where and what we were shooting. Now that production began, I started shooting the short film in a variety of locations, primarily in the lead's bedroom and at the Royal Botanic Garden, while ensuring work-health safety standards with the help of others. With my Canon 650D, I took high-quality photographs of textures and references for later use. Finally, I recorded a variety of Foley sounds ranging from heartbeats to rain using the Rode Wireless Go 2, and recorded voice lines for all the main characters. With all the physical production completed, it was time to move on to the digital workflow. This began with modeling, one of the most difficult and time-consuming processes of this project. I had to create high-quality, realistic models ranging from cities to barrels to spaceships. To texture each model, I either used the photographs I took to make normal maps or manually created them using procedural node systems in Blender, where tutorials really came in handy. I also rigged a spacesuit, a process that took many attempts to get right. Using reference videos of myself performing the actions, I animated the spacesuit. This was another challenging and complex process as I had never rigged and animated my own character before. Additionally, I created various particle systems to simulate rain, grass, and even volumetric stars. Using Blender's advanced physics systems, I made realistic explosions, water physics, and gravity to simulate the can dropping. I used Polycam to 3D scan my cat through photogrammetry, and Photoshop to create logos and advertisements to place them around the 3D environment. I also used a variety of VFX techniques in After Effects such as compositing, With all the production completed, post-production began with sequencing the clips in Premiere Pro and composing music using Soundtrap and FL Studio. In Audacity, I mixed all the sounds accurately to match reality, such as the car's motors increasing and decreasing intensity, the walkie-talkie effect,
Code 602L, unable to proceed.
Code 602L, unable to proceed.
and the echo or reverb in the tunnel. After that, I did some color grading to enhance the visual aesthetics. Now, as for outsourcing in this project, I kept it to a minimum to ensure I learned new skills. However, I did need to outsource some elements. For example, I sourced certain sound effects such as the police sirens and explosion sounds, which were too difficult to recreate. Additionally, I obtained some textures like of Earth and the Moon from NASA's official website, since they were basically impossible for me to get on my own. I also outsourced the texture for debris, as finding something like that would have been hard and a waste of time. And that concludes the breakdown of the Dreamscape. I hope you enjoyed the film as much as I enjoyed making it.
To showcase the skills I've used in my project, I'll be breaking down the process of creating this short scene from rough animation to final to post-production. The scene itself can be broken down into 3 main layers: character, background, and effects. The character was drawn in Clip Studio Paint using frame-by-frame animation. First, the starting and ending key poses were drawn based on a 3D modeled reference, then in-betweens were added to create a smooth transition between the two. Once the movements were established, I roughed out the details and applied 2D camera movements to mock up how I wanted the zoom out to move. Once the rough sketch was completed, I moved on to the final animation, where I began with painting the background for the scene on the same canvas as the character, so I would be able to use the rough animation as a size reference. This is also the point where I made the effect assets. After that, I returned to my character, where I drew the final line art and local color pulses. I then exported both layers as PNG sequences, and the background and effects as their own singular PNGs for the final stage. Post-production. The post-production is the most important stage, and also requires the most skills in order to take my animation from plain animation to final product. I began with importing all my files into my timeline and positioning them using position and scale keyframes for every layer to create the zoom before beginning on editing. Levels were used to adjust the values on the background layer for a more dramatic effect by moving the histogram to make it darker and lighter. Then I made an integration pass to tint my character's colors to fit the scene. This was done by duplicating the local color layer and using the hue and saturation effect with the colorize feature, which was then manually adjusted to the correct tint. Finally, the multiply blending mode was applied and the opacity lowered to the desired level. For the fire overlay, the glow preset was added with the intensity increased and the add blending mode applied to enhance its brightness. I created a variety of gradients using masks, whether manually made or clipped to certain layers. Manual masks were made either with the standard rectangle mask tool or the pen tool. To clip a mask to a layer, the solid is placed below the desired layer, then the track mask applied to it, isolating the shape to just that layer. The gradient effect was created by adding a mask feather, then adding either a multiply or add blending mode, depending on the desired look. All of the gradients were also moved and scaled accordingly with keyframes. Highlights were created by pre-composing all of the character layers into one before duplicating it and applying the inner shadow layer style, which created an outer silhouette which I used to create automatic rim lighting. After the desired size was achieved, the color was changed to a bright orange to match the scene. Then the layer set to add, before using keyframes to adjust it when zoomed out. The fire overlay was animated with the puppet pin tool and a distortion mesh, creating 2 keyframes which were then altered between to animate the flames. Finally, more masks and gradients were used to add extra shadows and lighting that I adjusted the opacity of to fade them in and out.